podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Whitney Shio.
And I'm Pesa Shio, Whitney Shio's husband.
And you can find us on Twitter. He's at Pesa Shio, and I'm at Whitney Shio. And of course, you can always go to liveyourbestmarriage.com/blog.
Yeah, liveyourbestmarriage.com. And also here at Live Your Best Marriage, here at Live Your Best Marriage podcast, we always believe that every marriage has a chance to be awesome and also to be fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Every couple has a chance.
Yes. And in today's podcast, we will just be giving you some tips on how to make your marriage better.
Yes, I actually found an article from Self Magazine. They had 21 of the best pieces of marriage advice that was submitted by people online. So what we can do is we can actually go through the list and talk about some of these really awesome tips that I found.
And for those who don't know us, we have been together for...
We've been together for 12 years.
And we've been through our ups and downs. But God has helped us, and we have been together, and the future still looks bright for us.
Mm-hmm, that's right. And we have 4 little kids who we homeschool, and we're both stay-at-home parents.
Yes, we run our online business. I do web design, and also we help run the Live Your Best Marriage website.
Mm-hmm, that's right. So I want to jump into this because I'm really excited. The first tip that I have for you is surround yourself with friends who strengthen your marriage and avoid people who may tempt you to compromise your character.
Okay.
So what do you think of that?
So that sounds like a plan. Surround yourself with people who strengthen your marriage. That makes sense. That, to me, it's a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. If you are married, don't be hanging out with single people who are actually trying, mm-hmm. who might not understand what you're going through, because the advice they might give you might not be the advice you might be needing to actually stay in the marriage.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Or because they've never been married, they just don't know.
Yes. That's another thing.
They don't know what to tell you.
They don't know what to tell you. But, as the way things go, everybody always has an opinion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine told me that he's married, but he told me that when you buy somebody's opinion, you also need to buy their lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Their opinion comes with their lifestyle. So the way he was explaining it to me, that if somebody is divorced several times and they don't seem to have quote unquote luck in keeping a wife, my friend was telling me that if you take their opinion when it comes to how to deal with your wife, you might end up like them, because there's something they don't know about staying married. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of us, that's kind of tough news to hear, because we always try to treat everybody equally, and we try to be fair to everybody. But sometimes some people don't really know how to stay married. Mm-hmm. That's why they are getting divorced 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And them giving you advice on how to stay married might not be the best idea. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking for marriage advice, it's always a good idea to go and find somebody who is married for a long time. Because for some reason, they seem to know what it takes to stay married.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And so some other people that you might want to stay away from are the ones who are married, but maybe their behavior is somewhat promiscuous.
Okay.
They might go to strip clubs.
Okay.
That's just an example.
Uh-huh.
Or they might not be very positive when they're
Yes.
talking about their own spouse.
Yes.
So those are some people that you might want to avoid.
Yes, and just always get people who build your marriage, not people who will be destroying your marriage. Yes.
That's right. That's right. Another awesome tip that I found is both of you will not always be strong at the same time. Being in a good place and on the same wavelength is great, but what will you do when one of you is not at their best?
When one of you is not at their best, somebody has to help pick up the slack. And that reminds me of that movie. Was it War Room or Fireproof? Fireproof. Where they were talking about you never leave your partner behind. So yeah, it reminds me of that movie where it's a Christian marriage movie. And the whole theme was you don't get a divorce and pretty much you don't leave your spouse behind. So when one person is slacking off, somebody has to fill the gap and
be the strong one.
And be the strong one. Some people might say, oh, that's not fair, man. I'm not pulling somebody's weight, but there will be a time when you'll be weak and you pray that your life partner will be there to actually talk sense to you and actually help you get up so that we can keep this marriage going. Yeah.
Awesome. The next tip is when you argue, nobody wins.
Whoa.
Does that make sense?
When you argue, nobody wins.
Okay. Because the way a lot of us like to look at it is, you know what? He was wrong and I was right.
Yes, he was wrong and I was right. She was wrong and I was right. And I need to put in my 2 cents.
But the truth is, both of you actually lose. Because you're a team.
Yeah.
And you're both going down together.
Okay. So when you bring up the point that we are a team, now that starts making sense. But before it's like, hey, man, she said something and I need to defend myself.
But if you're trying to win an argument, that actually means that you're opposing the person who's on your own team.
So how do you propose people should be able to solve a conflict? You know, at that time when things are like a little bit heated and there's like a little bit of confusion, how do you propose?
Well, the first thing would be to remember that you are both on the same team.
But at that time, it's like, we are not in the same team.
And I call it, you can't, neither of you can claim victory over the other.
Okay.
So, because like I said, you're both going down. Okay. If you're, you either both win together or you lose together. And at that moment, I know trying to win that argument just sounds so good.
Yeah.
And you start, you bring out your list of offenses. The list comes out. And I call it keeping track so you can pay back. And what I mean by that is you bring out, this huge artillery, so to speak, and it really does become a fight. It becomes almost like a war.
Wow, that's kind of familiar, but
yeah, and hey, yeah, just a reminder, we're real people everybody fights. And that's also something, and this might be confusing when I say that, when trying to win the fight, neither of you actually win. But what I wanted to also say is that everybody fights. Every couple has disagreements. It's so sad because a lot of couples come to us with the belief that they are flawed, that their marriage is flawed and broken because they argue or because they have disagreements.
Yes. And you know what? Been there, done that. So what I can tell you guys, I'm human. We are human. Sometimes things get the better of us. So, hey, apologize. I know it's not your fault. I know it's not your fault. But somebody has to be the first one to apologize. Somebody has to be the first one to agree. And if possible, if you can agree, you're more likely to get your way if you start by agreeing instead of being the person who is always disagreeing. So if you want to get your way, if you want to go and watch that movie tonight, you want to watch that that movie, your wife doesn't want to watch that movie. She just wants to go and eat dinner. Eat out tonight, but you want to go and watch a movie tonight. So what do?
Be more agreeable.
Be more agreeable. hey, she'll you'll be like, yeah, I agree, man. We definitely need to go and eat that dinner. You agreed to go and eat out, but at the end you'll be able to watch that movie.
There you go.
But if you make her wrong from the get-go, like, oh man, we don't want to go and eat out. We just want to go and watch that movie. Now she will be opposing you. And that also works for women too, for the wives. Yeah, I know she wants to go and watch that chick flick, which, guys, you don't want to watch that movie, that chick flick. Right? So for guys, you just be agreeable. Say, oh yeah, but before we watch that movie, before we go to that chick flick, maybe we can pass by that restaurant, that Chinese restaurant, that buffet.
Oh, God.
as you're buying time, and you never know. Maybe eventually you'll have to go and watch that chick flick, but at least you get your way on something else, it's a give and take. So be more agreeable, and at the same time, be the first one to apologize, just to cut the stress and to cut the argument. And as my wife says, we're on the same team anyway, so it doesn't really matter who apologizes first. And if you can make it easy that you are always oh yeah, I'm so sorry, man, I'm so sorry, it will reduce the conflicts. I see my wife is trying to laugh here.
So, okay, the next tip is complete transparency.
What does that mean?
Well, we all know that telling a lie to our spouse is not good.
It's not?
It's not good.
Okay.
But equally dangerous are secrets. Keeping a secret. Because keeping a secret isn't exactly telling a lie, but it's lying by omission, but how open are you? Because intimacy cannot be achieved as long as you guys have secrets.
Okay, you lost me on that one.
Intimacy. Okay, true intimacy in a marriage means that you guys are connected on pretty much every level, or at least you're trying.
Okay.
But if you're not open with one another, if there are things that one is keeping from the other, then you're not able to connect as much as you should.
So give me an example.
Okay, an example. One of the most common examples that I see is usually when a spouse has a conversation with someone of the opposite sex, maybe it's a coworker or a colleague, and although it's not exactly wrong, it's not totally bad for them to be talking like that, but it's definitely something that they would not want their spouse to hear them saying as they're talking to that person. Does that make sense?
Nope.
Or sometimes there's a... I'm really trying to come up with an example here. Secrets are not good, guys. But maybe you receive a text message.
Yes.
From a coworker, and it's like it's borderline inappropriate. It's not totally bad. That's what I'm trying to say, but it's just not something that you want your wife to see or your husband to see, because you know it would make them upset. If it's something that you know would make them upset, and then you deliberately try to hide it, okay, that's what I'm going for here.
So somebody might say, hey, you know what, I love my wife so much, and this is such a huge disruption. And I'm like, this is cray. Some stranger is texting me. I'm just going to delete it and move on. What do you say about that?
Okay, but what do you mean by stranger?
Some coworker is texting me. There's nothing going on. Okay. And I know it's just going to bring so much anxiety and stress to my spouse. So what do? I just delete it. What do you tell them? What do you think about that?
No, I think it is very important to be open and to let them know. First of all, wives like to know. That's just a thing about wives. We like to know. We like to be included. That's just we can't stand not knowing things. I know, it's weird. But
so wives,
be open. It is super important, because although this specific situation that you're talking about might be totally harmless, maybe there's nothing going on, but I do believe that as a general rule, it is important to go ahead and say it and be open, because close call friendships can get started that way.
Yes.
And emotional affairs can, or even physical affairs can get started because it looked so harmless in the beginning.
Yes.
And no one said anything.
Okay.
Because your spouse has they're looking at it with a different set of eyes, and they might say, okay, whoa, this person really, you really should not be hanging around this person.
Yes.
But anyway, it's wrong. Keeping secrets, not good.
Keeping secrets, not good.
Not good.
Unless you're trying to protect your spouse.
No. Always be open. Because you cannot achieve intimacy unless you are transparent.
You can also not achieve intimacy if you are thinking about a text message which does not mean anything. Right?
Anyway, don't keep secrets.
Hey guys.
Okay, the next tip is don't take life too seriously. Find reasons to laugh and experience joy.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
I love goofing off. I love having a great time. So this works for me. Like just don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah, don't take yourself too seriously. I think there's a place in life where you can just have a great time, smile, just play around, mess around, like just have a good time.
Yes.
Don't take life too seriously. Huh.
Now, what would you say to someone who is having financial stress in their household?
Okay, give me an example.
Just what if one spouse is unemployed and they're really, really, really upset about it? I mean, what do you tell them?
So they just lost a job?
Right.
Man, that's crazy. So they just lost a job and they're pretty upset.
You're saying that they can still find joy even in the midst of that hardship?
Yes, they can still find joy. Yes, they can still find joy. It just depends what they value. Yeah, they can still find joy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So basically it's finding reasons to laugh when you don't feel like it.
Yes, finding reasons to laugh when you don't feel like it. And another thing what people can do, and it has worked for me, is looking back. If you look at the situation you are in at the moment, it might be crazy. You're like, oh my God, this is crazy, man. I just lost my job. I don't feel right. But maybe if you look back, you're like, wow, we've come a long ways, man. We've gone through this before, or we've remember when we started dating and things were harder, whatever, you know. If you look back, you can always find a reason to be grateful as you're trying to find another job, or as you're trying to figure out ways to bring in some cash. Yeah.
Okay, good. The next tip is, it's not about my happiness, it's about their happiness.
Okay, about whose happiness? Like the spouses?
It's about the happiness of the person I married and not so much my own. So I need to focus more on making my husband happy rather than trying to make myself happy.
Yeah, that's great. You can always focus on try to make me happy. I'm okay with that.
And you
I'm
know,
okay with that.
obviously.
That works for me. Yep.
Obviously. We're okay. What this one reminds me of is the phrase, volunteering
Yeah.
does more for the volunteer than it does for the people they were serving.
Okay, yeah, I've had that before. Like when you go to volunteer, you actually benefit more from the experience.
You get more out of it than the
Yes.
people you helped.
That actually reminds me of a guy I met yesterday. I went to this meeting, and he is a retired human resource manager. Okay, pretty straight up guy, like nice guy, whatever. So lived the middle class lifestyle. Anyway. Now that he's retired, he's actually volunteering on a program where he goes to a halfway house and help prisoners to find jobs and just get them, because he does HR, human resource. He's a human resource manager. He helps them get jobs and just know how to interview and all that stuff. And he told me that when he went to start this project, to work in this project, he knew that he had some misgivings, like, oh, I don't know if they'll be too angry. I don't know. But he's saying that now, by the fact that he's volunteering, he's finding out that they are not actually that angry. They are very willing to learn, very willing to get better, very willing to get back in the society. And actually, he's learning more and actually being blessed more by him volunteering there than he believes these people are getting out of it. Like, he's actually the one benefiting more out of it. So you're thinking it's the same thing as a marriage?
Yes. So if you look at it in terms of, okay, I want to make my spouse happy.
Yes.
You focus more on their happiness than you do on your own. And then in return, the way everything works out, it ends up making you happy because you are just, you're seeing the joy that comes from
the happiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
From it, and some people might call it servitude.
Wow, that's a big word. Say that again. That's a $10 word right there.
Some people might refer to it more as servitude. You are dedicated to just, the person you married. And so what that means is you're putting their needs above your own. And so when you look at it that way, I think that's a really big help, because in our culture, we're told that we're supposed to get married in order to be happy. We get married for happiness.
Yes.
It's something that makes us happy.
Yes.
But, that's just going to be a big disappointment if if you're getting married for reasons that help you.
But somebody would be like, this is what's there for me. Like, why should I get into something that I'll be miserable? What do you tell them?
No, you're not gonna be miserable. It's your happiness. How would you say it? It's a byproduct of being with, like how would you break that down? Something, your happiness is something that comes as a result of
being married.
The word. Okay, I'm confusing myself. I need to just move on to the next one. I'll try to work that one out later and bring it up on a different day. Okay, the very last tip that we have today is you need to invest time in your marriage. You need to invest in spending time with the person you married. And yes. The way that this was written online when I found it is they said the true currency of a lasting marriage is time.
So what do you mean time? So is it that you have to spend time, you and your spouse, or like just what are you talking?
To me, it would seem as though quality time together is mostly what they meant.
So what if somebody's like, does that mean that I need to be clingy?
I wouldn't think clingy is such a bad thing. I really wouldn't. I am not, at this point, I'm not going to say clingy is a bad thing in marriage. And the reason why I say that is because there are plenty of things that are always pulling us away from our families and from the person we married, because that's the truth. I mean, you're either on Facebook, you're on Pinterest, you're on Twitter, or you're somewhere else, you're watching TV, or you're with friends, or you're at work, or we're always doing something, and there's just plenty of things that are taking us away from our spouse. And I think I have a few divorced folks who have told me very clearly that the biggest regret they have is they did not spend enough time with the person they married. And that's actually one of the biggest reasons why things did not work out for them, because they call it drifting apart. Oh, yes. So that is very, very, very important.
So you just need to drift together towards each other.
You need to stay, yes, exactly. You need to always just find ways of getting closer, basically, is what I'm saying. Yeah. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just spend time together.
Spend time together. Find activities that you can spend time together, watch TV together, get busy together, if you know what I mean.
Of course. Do that as much as possible. Anyway. So there you have it, folks. Those are some of the really, really, really cool tips that we found. And there are many more. We will actually be doing a part 2 of this podcast with the rest of the tips and more advice. So thank you so much for listening.
Again, at Live Your Best Marriage, we believe that every marriage has a chance to be awesome and also to be fulfilling. And we would love to communicate with you guys. Just go to Twitter. We love Twitter. At Pesashayo, PESASHAYO. And my wifey, she's at Whitney Shayo. At Whitney Shayo. And we can always find us at the website www.liveyourbestmarriage.com. We are always there just hanging out. Okay. Hey guys, until next week, take care and God bless. See you later.